Hi, I'm Alicia Michelle, best-selling author and ICF certified Christian mindset coach. I've helped tens of thousands discover how to build emotional confidence using practical, science, and scripture-based mindset tools. If you're ready for less overwhelm, healthier relationships, and more calm and freedom in Christ, you are in the right place. Let's get started. Hi there. Welcome to today's episode of The Christian Mindset Coach with me, Alicia Michelle. Several of you know that I recently returned from a retreat that I hosted in Italy. It was the very first international retreat that I've ever hosted. And I know a lot of personal friends of mine were asking, what was it like? What did God do? All the great questions. And I've really enjoyed reliving parts of the trip and telling them. And I thought I would love to share with you guys, the listeners here, because a lot of you know that we were taking this trip. Several of you were even praying for our experience there. So thank you, first of all, for those of you who prayed. As you'll hear in a minute, God showed up and he did great things. A great way for you to hear what happened was to hear it from some of the women who were there. So today on the podcast, I have invited in 6 of these ladies who are sharing what it was like. What were some things that were surprising or interesting? How did God speak to them? How is he still speaking to them after this trip? I'm excited to share that conversation with you. And I also wanted to remind you to listen to the previous episode 335, if you haven't already, because you'll hear that I am going to be doing more of these retreats in the future. This is something that God is calling me to. And yes, this is something that women need right now. So if you want to hear more about my heart behind this and hear about the exciting retreats that I'm going to be offering in 2026 and 2027, be sure to listen to the previous episode, 335. The first one will be in February of 2026 here in San Diego at the beach. We are hosting it at a beach house right on the sand, an amazing 5-day experience for rest and replenishment. The other one is going to be in Scotland in June of 2027. To get more information about those retreats, you can sign up now for the San Diego retreat. That is at aliciamichelle.com/beach-retreat. And if you would like to put your name on the wait list, since we haven't officially started taking deposits for Scotland because it's still a little ways off, you can go to aliciamichelle.com/Scotland to put your name on the wait list for that retreat, which will be a 10-day experience in June of 2027. Both of these are Christian women based, Christian women only. The Scotland option does have a spouse option because it's an international trip. We allow that. Both of these experiences are focused on Jesus, on finding rest, on filling our souls and listening to the Lord and letting him replenish us. And that brings me to the conversation here. Here is that conversation I had with 6 of the women from the Italy retreat, so you can hear what their experiences were like, some of the blessings, surprises, and gifts of traveling together to Tuscany. All right, ladies, I'm so glad that you're here, and I can't wait to hear more about what the trip was like for you. Let me know, was there a reason why you said yes to this trip? Was there a specific reason that you said yes to going to Italy?
I have always wanted to go to Italy. So when you put that out, I'm like, oh, this is a good opportunity for me. Going with Christian women, just having people to meet there and everything was quite intriguing, just that there would be people that I could connect with.
And I know, like you, Sheila, you were in a unique position because we had not technically met before.
Well,
And there was a couple of you on this trip that I knew well, but several of you that I had never met before. And so, what was it like to go on this trip that you've always wanted to go to, but maybe you didn't know anybody else? Was that intimidating at all?
Not for me. For me, I had my husband and I, it had been on our bucket list for years, decades. And I was praying, like, Lord, this is my lifelong dream. All of those retreats were women only. And I always knew that if we went, we needed to go together. Then I saw your announcement of the retreat, and initially I was like, oh, but this is another women's group. And as I kept reading and you indicated that spouses were welcome, I jumped for joy and told my husband, like, we're in.
Yeah, we did that because I was like, okay, I know there are people who won't want to do this unless you have a spouse with you. This is the kind of place that people would want to go to with their spouse. So we had two men on
Mhm.
our trip. We had your husband, and then Lisa, we had your husband, Scott. So what was that like for you guys to be the only two married couples in this unique situation with a retreat for Christian women?
Yes, I was a little concerned about it because you're walking this line, right? You want to be with women, you want to talk about things and you want to hang out, and then you've got your spouse there too, which actually was the selling point for us going as well. We wanted to go together, but it was actually great. It was great to have another man there
Yeah.
because I could pawn Scott off on Rick thing, and then it really felt like I was on retreat. So
Yeah.
it was just fun. It was a great
Best
experience.
of both worlds.
Yeah.
They just hit it off straight away. We're so good together. And we had our time where we did our sessions, had our conversations, but then they were such an integral part of our time together when we were eating and when we were on tour. It was just, it all worked together so beautifully. Lourdes, were you a little worried too
Yeah,
about?
I was worried that the guys wouldn't get along. From my experience in other women's retreats, we all tend to gravitate and we have a tender heart for one another. But
Yeah.
with the guys, I was hoping and praying that they would mesh and get along together, and they seemed to hit it off right away.
I think that was my big prayer as the person hosting the retreat is just, Lord, bring the right people, people who are going to be able to not just be friends on this retreat, but
Yeah.
to really inspire and encourage each other,
Mhm.
be those people who had gone through a similar experience or who were walking through that now, or maybe were 5 years ahead of the other person. So they could say, hey, I've been there. Here's how God worked in my life. And I feel like that happened in many different layers. You never can predict how these things go, but it wasn't surprising because that's just how God works. He's so awesome that way of doing things that are beyond what we can expect or imagine.
I was very impressed with David and Carolina. The days that we had our women's meeting group and our teachings, David took the guys and went and did other stuff with just
Yeah.
them. So they weren't just like hanging out. They were very attentive to everybody's needs.
Alice is talking about David and Carolina. They're the hosts at the villa that we host the retreat at in Tuscany. They are the travel hosts that I use when I am booking international retreats. They are amazing people. We did an episode with Carolina a couple of years ago, right when we first announced this retreat. I wanted everyone to capture what it was like to be in her world for 10 days, but I know all of you fell in love with Carolina while you were there. She's the best. So talk to us about what that was like to be on a trip that was planned by this couple.
I would say it blew my mind with the amazing service and the kindness of Carolina. She was the chef, the caterer, and the organizer. She was involved in every detail and was excited about showing us different parts of Tuscany and then the cuisine. You ask about how did this affect our faith and our walk. It's just like it was being immersed for 10 days in pure relaxation. Like we didn't have to worry about cooking meals ourselves or doing any of the other things. We had 4-course meals that were exquisite. We had a beautiful setting with a villa. That surprised me with the breathtaking scenery and the history, touring in the different towns. You tied in a scripture and a lesson. For those considering going on another retreat, the whole culture immersed with nature, time alone, new friends.
The attention to detail, 3 or 4 of us needed special dietary adjustments, and every single meal they were very attentive to take care of that.
I have told everyone that absolutely everything was taken care of.
Yeah.
We didn't lift a finger to do anything while we were gone. And even though our luggage didn't come in, they even took care of that for
Yeah,
us.
that was awesome.
And then we had just the amazing blessing of meeting all these new Christian friends. And the amazing thing about that is that Christians are Christians all over the world.
Thank you for sharing that. Our heart in planning the retreat was to make it a good balance of rest and touring. It's very tempting to go to a place like that and just pack every second with activities and stuff to see. I knew that we had a purpose there that was not just to see this beautiful place. It
Right.
was to have a chance to breathe with the Lord, to hear from him, to learn from him, and to make space for that. And that doesn't just happen in between places. We tried to give that balance of having both. So talk to me about that side of it. What was that like for you in the retreat? How God showed up to speak to you or encourage you?
I really reflected on giving myself permission to be blessed just because I'm quite a doer. And so God really showed me that it's okay to receive blessing. And I think you spoke to that, Alicia. We can get stuck in our stuff.
Yeah. And it's easy to get stuck in your stuff when you're in your same environment day after
Yes.
day. I think it's really a huge blessing of travel and doing a retreat, especially an international retreat, is that you are so removed from your everyday. You really can hear God. I experienced this when I did my first retreat there with them, that it took about 4 or 5 days, but then I could hear God so much more clearly, learning to be still before the Lord. Who else found that when we were there in Italy? What was that like for you?
That's one thing I noticed is they were so much more laid back there, everybody. Even the traffic, they were driving 80 miles an hour, but they weren't right on their bumpers and cutting and swerving in and out of traffic. It was just everything was just
Yeah.
so laid back.
I wanted to share about that because you taught us that we're always getting these hits of dopamine and we're not stopping to really look around. What we really need is to slow down and drink from the living well. And I have a tendency to do that. And all these things are going on around me, and yet I don't stop long enough to really notice and observe. And so that was a big part of what you kept reminding us to do, was to notice, to observe. There was a day when you all went into Florence and we decided to stay back. Even though I wanted to go, my body was crying out for rest. My soul was crying out for time alone with the Lord. I got that opportunity while you guys were gone. Rick took a long nap, and then I went and just sat in that little table, you know which one I'm
Yeah.
talking about. We're looking the garden,
Yeah.
just observing, noticing, and then talking to the Lord. And suddenly I was able to find that calm and peace in my soul, which I was struggling to find. I know
Yeah.
He did a work there in all of us.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that we tried to give that space too. I know my daughter had a day where she wasn't feeling well and she just needed to stay back because this retreat was about seeing Italy and seeing the culture, but it's also about a time of restoration. That was the higher priority. I love that you felt this is what I needed today and you felt comfortable to take that. That was what we were trying to create, the space for whatever you needed. So I would love to hear from other women too. Joan, Sheila, Lisa, Alice, Rachel, any of you. Tell me, what was something that you took from that time, the teaching time, or you're still chewing on?
I would say two of the activities that we did in our lessons, the day that you had us identify the different men and women in the Bible and
Yeah. Their
what
purpose.
their
Yeah.
purpose was.
Yeah.
It was a really eye opener to real God gives each of us the gifts for our purpose that He created us for. And we're not made to do what other people are created to do. We shouldn't be comparing ourselves to other women, other men. Our purpose is uniquely suited to us and the abilities and gifts that He's given to us. When we did the broken bowls, I've got that sitting in my family room on the table.
Great.
It's a good talking piece when people come in. And my granddaughter said, Gigi, your bowl is broken. But that's a good reminder for me every day. And my bowl did not quite meet because all the slivers. And I said, there's just some things in life that don't go back together like you had hoped, but there's still beauty in the brokenness. The whole 10 days of the trip, from the food to the time to the beauty, was just overwhelmingly, and looking at the minute detail that how God, with the olive trees and the history of the olive tree and just all of that just was like so special. If you're sharing this with other women in the future about going on a trip, I would just say it's so worth it in every area of your life to go and get away. And all 15 women were like meshed together. We've known each other for a long time. And that's the beauty of Christian fellowship and respect for each lady's journey in life.
Right. No, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's where I wanted to go next, was just the incredible connections that God made. Rachel and Alice, you two definitely from day one, it seemed like, had a connection. So would you guys be comfortable sharing about what that experience was like for you? Go
Yeah.
for it, Rachel.
I love making instant connections. I'm not afraid to go new places and meet new people. I do it all the time. I had the opportunity to add 2 days to the beginning of my trip. Alice and another traveler, Bonnie, also went along and added those two activities. Alice walked up to me and smiled. I remember that moment. I knew that this was somebody that I was going to be connected to. And God had told me before the trip that I would meet somebody and be connected to them. It turned out that it was Alice. And we ended up having a very hard conversation on day 2 of meeting. And it
Yeah.
solidified our relationship. And just very grateful for the opportunity to connect.
And
Alice, what was it
Alicia,
like for you? Yeah.
I can say that the minute I saw Rachel, I just gave her the biggest hug and she gave me the biggest hug back. And I'm like, oh Lord, this is my girl. Because I was a little bit nervous to travel by myself and to be there by myself, but just being able to feel that and to know right from the very beginning, it's like Rachel said, I just knew in my heart that God had given her to me. And we have so many things that are the same that we really like. Our differences don't even enter into anything because we're just like God's children. I cannot wait until she comes to visit me because I have so many things to show her. And I am so glad that I have a new sister.
What were some other connections that you guys made that just encouraged you in a new way? Hey, friend, are you carrying some big, confusing emotions right now? Or maybe you're just tired of all the inner chaos in your head? Well, I want to offer you the chance to have a quick conversation with me where you can share what's going on and I can listen and offer encouragement. Yes, totally for free. Listen, I want this podcast to be more than just me talking, you listening every week. I want to build a connection. So I'm opening a few spots for these one-on-one listener chats. It's not coaching and it's not a sales pitch. It's a way for me to genuinely connect and serve you in real life. So if you need help managing your emotions and you're not sure where to start, go to aliciamichelle.com/chat. Fill out the short form to let me know your number one issue right now in terms of managing emotions. I truly would love to hear from you, and I am so excited about these chats. So go to aliciamichelle.com/chat to get some encouragement and direction for where you're at now.
I would say with Lisa too, getting to know the fact that we are both challenged with the blessing and the burden of parenting adult children
Yes.
and being able to hold hands literally at some points during the trip and talk about that and to keep each other in prayer about that is significant. Just hearing some of the stories from some of the other ladies and knowing that even though the road you travel is hard, there are other types of hard, and we know that. But to be able to connect with people who are genuine and are not afraid to be vulnerable in front of
Right.
people they don't know. And maybe an element of that is that you don't know them and perhaps you may never see them again. Even though all of our healing journeys are different, for this moment in time, we were able to walk that path together.
It was really incredible to see the connections, the stories, how they overlapped, that although they were different, that not everyone had the same story, that there was this thread. And I was grateful that every woman and man there were open and vulnerable and not in a weird way, but that they were wanting to just be who they were. It wasn't just everyone pouring their hearts out. It was a lot of fun and laughter that happened. What was it like for you, Lisa?
I was really struck by how God moves in the unity of the Spirit. That's always an intriguing part of scripture that I read. And I go, yeah, I get it. But you really get it when you experience it. And you go, wow, I don't even know this person. And I feel like I've been sisters with them. I had some conversations with Joan that were like, wait, what? Well, you could just resonate with how God moves in their lives, even though she has a completely different life than I do.
Sure.
And I found that with every woman. Every woman has a completely unique story. But the thread was, number one, nobody's a victim. Number two,
Right.
the Spirit calls us to himself and then somehow gathers us together as we're called to him. I was in awe of how God is always moving. He's always healing. He's always sweeping through with the Spirit. He's always tying us together in ways that we don't even predict. We have no idea when we come to this trip. No, are these a bunch of crazies? Are these a bunch of women who have high needs and you can't even do it? And then you come together and you find these are women who love Jesus. God is working through in so many different ways. And I was super encouraged by that.
I always say that every person has a story, and I love to hear those stories. And we're all conquerors through Christ.
Amen.
And so that's the amazing thing. He puts us all together, and we encourage each other and we lift each other up.
I think it was a place of real safety because I have safety issues. I don't feel safe a lot of times, but I felt safe with every woman and all the sharing, and I was able to make myself vulnerable, even with people that I didn't know. And I think that kind of atmosphere just absorbed all of us just because Christ was there. He made himself known more than just once. It was over and over and over again. And it's just amazing to be with a group of women like that.
It was really a total renewal for all of us. Spirit, mind, body. If you had your spouse there, you had the couple time and a beautiful place to enjoy. It was a holistic retreat. I couldn't think of anything, Alicia, that you could have done better. It was beyond what I could have imagined, combining spiritual renewal and the Bible study, the prayer time, all of you precious new friends. And in every city we went to, you had a Bible or something to tie in to the walls of Lucca or to Volterra with the alabaster. And all of that was just a thread that you could see the Holy Spirit was leading you and developing all these different things. It just made it a whole cohesive retreat and experience that it's just like it's a once in a lifetime. I think all of us can agree, a once in a lifetime experience.
Thank you for saying that. I was trying my hardest to listen to what he wanted to do there. What blew me away was just what he brought with you guys and all of your stories and openness and the laughter. And I think there was just this feeling of everyone there had a different story, but everyone, they just had this trust in God through it. And that was the common thread. You're going to be real about this. It was a place where you're living real life next to each other. Just to close us up here, tell me anything else you would share or you feel like you want to share about this retreat as a takeaway, something you're going to never forget, maybe a funny moment. So I will start first with Lourdes, and then I'll go to Alice.
I think there's so many moments, but I think one of my favorite moments was our cooking class.
Oh, yes. Yes.
At the villa, where Carolina taught us how to make several dishes.
Tiramisu, that tart.
The guys got to put the cheese on and stuff. That was just very special. Everybody working together. And I thought that was a very nice, warm time. Not to mention the pizza night, but there's many moments that I will cherish.
Oh, awesome. And I like that we did that in the beginning because I think we were so all getting to know each other and you can bond around, okay, I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know what you're doing? Or this is fun. You just had something common together to do. Alice, what was something you're taking away or a funny memory for you?
Well, I like that we could get massage. Like Joan said, it was just a whole holistic retreat. That was really awesome. But there was a funny moment because Rachel and I were sitting on the stairs with our feet in the Mediterranean Sea and just sitting there talking and whatever. And this big old huge wave came up and soaked us. But it was great. The water was warm. It's like, hey, come on in here. So it was great. We took our shoes off and left them up at the top. And then we were just sitting on those steps and it was in the shade. And oh, it was just marvelous sitting, looking at the sea and seeing the calmness of it. And just remembering how Christ can calm the seas and the storms. And yeah, it was great. But we did get soaked.
All right, Rachel, is that something you're taking or is there something else?
One of the best things is something that's going to live with me forever, and it's the journal that you gave us because it's something that I can go to repeatedly and I'm instantly transported back there.
Yeah. So
I
tell
have
us
been
about the
able.
journal. For those listening aren't familiar with what we did.
Yeah. So on our first day together for our first teaching, you provided a travel journal with a couple different notebooks. Two of them were lined, and then one was not lined. And one was for perhaps attaching memories like scrapbooking, junk journaling, or art journaling, whatever you're into. I happen to be into art journaling. And then the other one was lined pages where we could take notes or journal, and you would provide a simple piece of paper with a journaling prompt. It was from
Yeah.
our teaching for that day and had scripture on it or a question that we could chew on and then go and write later. I liked how we were not always expected to do that in the moment, but that we had the opportunity to reflect and then to share our heart in our journal. And the fact that it's a travel journal, it's something that you can tuck away and take with you wherever you go. I've traveled a couple times since we met. I've been able to take it with me each time. I have another trip next week and I'm going to take it with me. It's a gift that keeps on giving because the
Yeah.
more I reflect on this trip, the better it gets.
Wow, that is great. My goal with that was to have a place for you to write your thoughts, that it didn't have to be in the moment. But I also wanted to teach you guys that skill I had learned a few years before of being able to capture the feeling and the moment and the memories. We can feel pressured to scrapbook or make the perfect scrapbooking page, or I don't even know how to scrapbook. I'm not creative, all these things. But just to say, what was it like to go? Whether that's a ticket from the train that you put on a page one day and you write, we had so much fun traveling to this place or whatever, or you have a picture of a mountain and you write the story of the wave coming up and crashing into you, Alice, like you did. Just a place to record that, because those are the things that make the trip so incredibly rich that when you go back and look at, it's like, this was the day. This was the day that we did that.
Yeah, I'm glad Rachel brought it up because I was going to bring it up and nobody did. I
Yeah.
love that you provided the artistic crafts and papers and gave us a sample of yours to learn from for those of us who this is for the first time. And Rachel did a beautiful job on hers too. So
She was outpacing all of us. She did like 12 pages or something. She was just quietly in the corner, like
and
popping
then
hers
you on
out.
your little mini printer that you allowed us
Oh,
to
yeah.
print some of the pictures. That was awesome.
We brought a mini printer because you want to have pictures in there, but sometimes a huge picture, and we don't print pictures anymore. They're all on our
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah.
But I think to have a written record where it's not fussy or complicated is very valuable.
I'm still working on mine.
I'm someone who likes to do it after as a way to reflect on the trip,
Mhm.
Rachel, like you were
Yeah.
talking about. That's something that I'm starting this weekend, pulling all of that out. I've labeled which page I want to do what, but that's a way I think to just keep chewing on what happened there. All right. Well, I would love to hear from you, Joan, and then Sheila, and we'll end with Lisa.
I think one of the things that I enjoy the most is our meal time together. Whether
Yeah.
we all sat outside and sitting on top of the mountaintop and looking at Luca, or inside in the elegant dining room, 4-course dinner every night, and dinners were 3 hours long. I tried to sit in different places at every meal so I could get to talk with different
Yeah.
people. And I think that's everything was precious. I think that was a key component of all of us developing friendship, mingling with each other and finding that we were immediately friends and had a lot of things in common. I think that was great. And then I would also say just briefly the things you did when we went into Lucca and Volterra and did a devotional to talk about the walls in our life, or at Volterra and the alabaster.
I bought some alabaster jars too. The city of Volterra is known for alabaster. And even in that time of Jesus, it was one of the biggest exports, like one of the greatest places to get alabaster was from Volterra. And so it's conjecture, but it's fun to think about that maybe that jar she had from the story that one of the gospel stories of the woman who takes the alabaster jar, breaks it at Jesus' feet. Wouldn't that be interesting to think that she could have gotten it from a place like Volterra? So it was fun to go to a alabaster factory and to see how they make the alabaster and shape it into different things, and then to buy a jar afterwards. I know I'm planning on giving one as a gift as well. Sheila, what's sticking with you?
Mealtime was probably most memorable for me. I tried to sit next to someone different each night. I loved sitting next to your daughter. She was
Oh,
precious, and we had some tender moments together. I just loved getting to know everybody a little bit more, and that seemed to be the place to do it around that table. Visiting all the different cities and what they were known for, and even our drivers made the
yes.
trip so special. They were
Right.
so great. They were wonderful. They would tell us the
Yeah.
history of the town we were going to visit
Yeah.
and what they were known for. And it just made the trip so enjoyable. So,
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. David and Carolina take a lot of care in who they invite into their sphere and who they will let be part of this experience. They have a high level of excellence. So some of you insisted on only going with certain drivers because they
oh,
were so funny or
we had so much
Oh, we
fun.
did.
We have a great story with one of the drivers, and it was hilarious.
karaoke some nights coming
We
back
had
from like a
karaoke one
restaurant.
night,
Like,
and I had to send a picture back to my husband with one of the drivers.
all right, Lisa, what is something that you're taking with you and remember from the
There are
trip?
so many, like the other girl said, but I'm going to go with Joan and Sheila's as well. I really enjoyed, there's something about a woman being able to go to a table that she didn't set, she didn't clean, she didn't have to prepare. I felt so cared for during that time, which is funny
Mm.
because it wasn't for me, it was for everybody, but I had a unique advantage from my villa bedroom. I could see the dining room in the
Mm.
morning, and those women were in there early. The
Yeah,
sun would
early,
come up and
early.
I'd look down and the table would be set already, or they'd be starting to set the table hours before our meals. And that I noticed then after that, they would do that every time. And just the preparation that went in just to set that table so we could rest. I really appreciated the table. As I've been home, I've been thinking about the references in the Bible about God setting the table for us, for our enemies or different things. Watching this table being set over and over, I realized there's so much going on to get that table ready, to have it beautiful and have
Wow.
every person with all of our food allergies, like Lorda said, just all the things that went into that meal that we didn't even probably know, so that we could sit and enjoy and be fed and be fed in our spirits, fed in our physical bodies. I just thought that was great. I loved the table.
Yeah, they anticipated every need. In fact,
Mhm.
the first morning that I was there, before you guys even got there, they found out that I am decaf for coffee. I only drink decaf. And from that point on, every morning for breakfast, I would walk in the room and either it was already there or it would come. There would just be somebody from the kitchen that would bring up my decaf coffee. I was the only person who had it, and they had a coffee machine in there for everyone else. And I was just like, it made me feel very taken care of, like you said, in that very unique way. There was 15 of us sitting there, and somebody every morning would remember, oh, Alicia likes her decaf coffee. I wouldn't even ask. I didn't ask ever again. And every morning it was there. Anything else you'd like to share before we close our time?
Yes, I would like to know, since you've had a little time to reflect, how you feel about seeing God's promises coming to light for you in Italy.
Leave it to Rachel to put me on the spot and ask the tough question. Rachel,
Thank you, Rachel.
it's caused me to really make sure that what I do in terms of next steps is for God. It is something that He wants me to do. I saw such a move of His Spirit there, and I know that was because He had called me to do that event. He was leading me for a year and a half, 2 years when we were planning it. It was so my heart has just been since then, like, I want to make sure that I'm stepping in the right place, doing the next thing that He wants for me, not just, oh, this would be cool. I'm going to go run ahead and do that. Lord, I have some ideas, but I don't want to move forward unless this is really truly what you want for me. So I think that was what I was left with, was just the chance to really get back to what is important in my life. And I don't want to move forward unless it's from Him. Anyone else got a tough question for Alicia?
Thank you. On so many levels. Thank you for letting Scott come, and thank you for putting it together. I'm a person that wants to take the least possible with me. When I realized how much you had to drag to the airport, I'm like, man, she loves us.
We had 2 huge 50-pound checked bags plus our own personal bags. God made it work. The biggest thing was getting the weight figured out. So once we did that, it wasn't an issue of bringing it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you from
Yes.
us as well. You made it happen
We
for
all
us.
echo that.
Thank you. Isn't it amazing to see how God takes just random people, some of them that I had worked with in coaching, some of them that were a part of my club, some of them were personal friends, and some of them I had never met, and just brings them all together around this unique shared experience. And as you heard, the bonds, the laughter, the fun, the introspection, the ministry that happens, he just blew me away with this trip. I had been praying if this was something that I was going to do again, and God more than confirmed that in several ways. As you heard at the top of this episode, and if you listen to 335, we are hosting 2 retreats. We're hosting a retreat in the US, which will be in San Diego at the beach in February of 2026. That's at that beach house there that I was telling you about. There's also going to be a retreat with this same couple that helped organize the retreat that we went to in Italy, Carolina and David, as you heard them talking about here. We're going to be organizing a retreat in Scotland in June of 2027. I am so excited about this. This is going to be an incredible opportunity. I've been praying already for the women that will be attending these events. And I just know that God is already revealing teachings, ideas, that this is going to be another example of him showing up in a big way. So if you're interested in those retreats, the San Diego retreat is coming up a lot sooner at the time of this recording than the Scotland retreat. So I would encourage you to check out the links for both of them. The San Diego retreat is in the US. If you are in the US, it's probably a shorter, closer flight for you. And that is at aliciamichelle.com/beach retreat. We do have a virtual option if flying there is not going to be a good fit for you. Or honestly, we do have a limited number of people that can come because of the space requirements of the house. So look into it, even if you're like, I don't know if I could ever go to San Diego, but I could participate. I want to learn and be a part of the rest part of it and grow together. The other experience is in Scotland in June of 2027. That is a 10-day experience. And because it is an international experience, like we did for the Italy retreat, we are welcoming in spouses of attendees. So some of the ladies, as you heard, brought their spouse. 2 of the ladies did. And we have activities and other ways that when we're doing our teaching time with the ladies, the guys can go do their own thing with David, or they will just hang out at the house and relax, which is what sometimes the guys did too. They do all our experiences with us. They go on all the tours. They eat with us. It's wonderful. But we still have that intimate time together as women. To get more information about the Scotland trip and to put your name on the list, right now we are just taking names, but you may be listening to this when we're actually taking deposits. So go to aliciamichelle.com/Scotland to be able to learn more about that trip. Next week, if you live in the US, it is Thanksgiving week. And so we're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk about some practical things you might need to know or have in your back pocket as you attend family gatherings, either starting next week or as we kick off the whole holiday season, which I feel like Thanksgiving does. Some practical things that have to do with managing emotions and being around family, maybe that we're not used to being around. Tune in to next week's episode. I look forward to talking to you more then. Take care. Thanks for joining me today. For full show notes and helpful next step resources, visit aliciamichelle.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, I'd be honored if you would leave a 5-star rating and review. And remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed or stuck in your emotions, I offer free chats with listeners. Just head to aliciamichelle.com/chat. Tell me a little bit about what's going on, and I'll be in touch. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.